What's up, guys? This is The.Gear.Locker, and welcome back to episode 2, part 2 of Roast Your Kit. If you're confused, go watch episode 1 that I posted earlier this week. As always, stick to the end to see my favorite kit from this episode, in addition to 2 other special things. Number 1, you can find out the special theme for episode 3 and get your kit submitted, as well as see an example of what that's going to look like. So for episode 2, part 2, we're going to take a look at some foreign kits. Let's dive right in with the Rust Force side of things. Starting off with one from Cheems 19943, we have a 2022/Early War VDV private purchase impression. He's got an AliExpress Repro 6B47 helmet. He's got the SSO plate carrier and ATAX FG. And on the carrier, he's got some Fly Industries magazine pouches, open top radio pouch, a TMC LBT style tan single mag pouch, dangler pouches, and mortar tack groin protector. His oversuit is the 6SH122 reversible oversuit with the autumn side out and Arma work boots. So before we even get to the reference photos, this is an interesting kit. Whether or not you consider it a hot topic, of course it is in this community, but I don't know, it works, but it kind of has some weird vibes to me. Seeing the plate carrier with 4 AK magazine pouches on the front just makes it look a little wide, and the patches are a little bit much in my opinion. So let's take a look at Cheems reference photos to see if it matches up. And just taking a look at the kit, it does kind of match up well. Now, I'm not gonna lie, some of the things that I'm not necessarily a fan of include the patches, which I think I mentioned that prior, but I don't see them on any of these guys' kits. But what I do see are some push-to-talks and minor details like that, in addition to them all running the AK-12. So maybe making some minor adjustments to details of your kit to more closely match particular photos like this, I would love to see. Cheems, you did a great job. I'm gonna give this one a solid 7.5 to 8 out of 10. It looks good. There are definitely some details to swap though, but nice job. And from Callsign Drew, we have another Russian kit. I believe this to be an SSO or Modern Russian Special Forces. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments though. He didn't specify and I'm not too sure, but we have another leaf suit one. If you know my opinions on leaf suits, I'm sorry, I'm not a huge fan of them. Maybe it's because it's overdone here in the US, but with this, it looks like you have a pretty cohesive kit. You have the leaf suit with a TT Mark II in multicam, and it looks like you're running an AK-104. Now I know they tend to use a lot of the updated stuff like the 105s and the AK-12s, things like that. So let's take a look at what they have in the reference photos, because it looks pretty decent overall, although simple. So I'd love to see what the photos actually look like compared to it. And it looks like you've nailed pretty much all of the details. It looks good. I think you have a very simple kit, but overall, Drew, I'm gonna give this one a solid 8 out of 10. Not because it's bad, but maybe the guys in the comments can correct me if it is perfectly accurate. I'd love to see some more detail into this one. Overall though, nice job and the photos look great. And rounding out the Russian side of things, we have one from Sean.Sullivan.18, a DPR impression. This one is just sad. I know exactly what you're going for, and it's crazy that we're seeing this kind of equipment used on the battlefield in modern times in the last 5 years. But let's take a look at what you got. Looks like you've got some Soviet 80s era belt and equipment with an SSH-68 and an SSH-40 copy, EMR uniform, and a 6B23-1 armor setup. The 2 rifles you have down there are M91/30s, and I know exactly the reference photos you're talking about. Let's take a look at them. Sean, you nailed this. I know I put the photo of you with the AK up. You do have some cool videos of that, and I know you do have the M91/30s. It's just crazy to see this. I think you nailed all the details. You did a great job. I'm just straight up gonna give this one a 9 out of 10 because I can't find anything that's wrong with it. It's just really sad. So I think for that sadness, you take a point away. So now let's take a step into the German side of things. Here we have 4 kits that are all within the German sphere. 3 of them KSK, 1 of them not. Let's jump in with our first one from Monster Milsim. Monster Milsim has put together a 2017/2018 KSK kit. Here he's using a multi-tarn everything pretty much with an FMA OpsCore Repro in the Hexonia style up top. For this 2017/2018 kit, he's using a G36 KA4, although later on, especially starting in 2018, they moved more towards the G95, which we'll see a build like that later. Taking a look, I only have 3 issues with this kit, and this is just because I know what the reference photos should look like. Number 1, I'd say, is the uniform. I know it's a USP reproduction uniform, and right now getting a real multi-tarn uniform is not easy and it's not cheap. Getting a repro is just fine. I can definitely tell that it's not the best cut and the reinforcement on the elbows and knees is not the correct color, maybe not the correct sizing, especially because if you look, it's kind of on the side of your knee. I can't say I love that uniform, but overall getting it in multi-tarn is a lot better than getting the Crye cut one. The other two issues I have with it is number one, that push to talk. I know it looks similar to the Peltor TK5, that is the correct style for this kit, so maybe finding one of those or finding a reproduction, and then that night vision setup on the front of your helmet. I don't know what that is. I just know it's not the correct version, so maybe leaving it off the helmet for now would be better overall. In general though, I think it looks like a decent kit. Let's see how it matches up with the references. And it looks like you nailed it. In these two reference photos we have here, they have the 3-farb helmet cover, which isn't something present on your kit. I don't think that's an issue though. You don't need it on your kit. But with the pouches that you have and the uniform style, I think it overall looks pretty darn good. So nice job, Monster Milsim. I think you did a good job. I'll give this one a solid 8 out of 10. Now continuing on with the multi-tarn kits, we have one from Unit Force Fluse. And this one is a 2018 to modern KSK impression kit. And one of the standout pieces is that G95 build. We're gonna get to that, but let's take a look at the uniform in general. He does have a USV gear reproduction of that Watani uniform set, which looks good. For some reason, it looks a little bit better than the last one. Maybe it's just the lighting, but being that it is a reproduction and something that is very difficult to get in the real world, or the real versions of, I should say, I understand having that repro. And it looks like your plate carrier setup and all the pouches and accessories you have are reproduction as well. Now the piece I really like is your G95 build. You say you have an ENC base as the rifle, and I think that that works. The thing is, with some of these MR556 builds, you definitely have to get a lot of the details right. Like on the ones issued to the KSK, that selector switch doesn't go from 0 to 180 to go to full auto. It goes from 0 to 90, with a 45-degree selector position being semi-auto. I'm not sure if you've replicated that here on your build. It'd be very hard to do, but if you did, props to you. If not, I understand. Maybe a detail that I'd like to see in the future. Now taking a look at the reference photos, it looks like you nailed it pretty much spot on, even down to the correct color on that Earmore headset. Overall, I'd love to see a couple more angles of this kit, maybe showing off the PTT system and the rifle a little bit more, but Uniform Fluse, you did a great job, and I'm gonna have to give this one a solid 9 out of 10. Now going with our last KSK kit of this episode, we have one from Verden.AS, or Verden Airsoft. Here you have a 2017 KSK impression kit where they're using multicam. Oftentimes, overseas, they would use multicam. They can sometimes be seen wearing it in Germany, but typically it's an outside the wire kind of thing. And I like a lot of the design notes you have. You have the Linderhof Gen 5, you have the KA4 build, the helmet cover, the contacts. It looks really good, and it looks like you've got all the major components there. There are a couple details though that I'd like to see swapped. Number one, on your KA4 build, that top rail is not really correct. It looks like an old UTG one, which if it is, very cool. You see that on some of the older stuff, but you'll definitely want the IDZ style top rail. And I'm not necessarily a fan of your radio pouch and radio setup. Getting the correct radio pouch is gonna do wonders for this kit. I highly recommend picking up either a reproduction or an original Linderhof Gen 5 style issued one. Because that's going to be the correct one for this kit, not this civilian style that you have here. And you do have Crye ACs for the top and bottom. As you take a look at the reference photos that we have side by side here, I see it looks like the Crye G3s in the far right, and in the middle I think we have Arc'teryx uniform stuff. So you can't update that from the ACs to a more modern uniform set. I do know of a photo or two of ACs being used in this era, but maybe getting a more modern one might help this impression. Overall, I still think you did a great job. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 for those details, but Verden Airsoft, good job, dude. Okay, and with our last German kit of this episode, which we still have some more after, so stay tuned, we're gonna take a look at a fan favorite. 5 SKP Küken sent in another Polizei kit with some cool details. Here is his 2024 SEK Hessen South Heavy Ballistic Package kit. And it looks like it's similar to his old kit, the one that he sent in last week, but this time it's just, heavy. His helmet is Ulbricht's Zenturio C1300H, which is a titanium helmet. He's got a large visor in the front, and man, is that a thick visor. His uniform is, I believe, the same UF Pro, but his plate carrier this time is a BSST X4. His primary is an MP5, which he notes is a work in progress, but honestly, it looks really cool, and honestly looks done right now. With the same secondary of a VP9, which is a stand-in for a P30. Taking a look at the reference photos, I think he just bought 100% of the kit from the guy he's standing next to. It's spotless. Like, you did a fantastic job on this, as always. I'm just thoroughly impressed. You have all the same kind of details. The pouch setup and the equipment is almost identical. So this is a really solid impression kit, and nice job, dude. I couldn't give you the top spot 2 episodes in a row, but this is definitely up there for one of the best kits we've seen. Overall, 10 out of 10, good job. So now stepping away from Germany, and let's take a look at my neighbors to the north, the Canadians. Coming in from Bee.Tac, we have a CAF kit. His uniform is a Battle Rattle OTW, and he has it in the standard CAD-PAT as well as an arid pattern with a Shadow Strategic Repro CAD-PAT pants. He does have an arid version of this as well, which let's take a look at that real quick. On his body, he has a CAF TW frag vest with a whole slew of sword pouches. They remind me a lot of the old Eagle Industries stuff that's in khaki. It's a really cool look. His helmet is a CG634 with a TW helmet cover and scrim net. And his rifle, which he did an excellent job on, is his GMP C8 base with a G&G Repro Elcan and real Damaco furniture. If we take a look at the reference photos, I think he almost one-to-one this gun setup. And it just looks fantastic. As you can see, the gun on the very far right is identical to the setup that he has pretty much. He's got all the correct pouches, the correct uniform cut, the correct helmet. It looks like he did a fantastic job. Bee.Tac, I'm gonna give you a really solid 10 out of 10 on this one. Great work collecting such a rare collection of kit. If you guys don't know, Canadian kit is very hard to find because it's so heavily regulated up there. So to put it together to this level of authenticity is impressive. Nice job, dude. Pop quiz for you guys. If you guys can figure out the name of the camo pattern in this next one, you'll get a thumbs up in the comments. Here we have one of the most unique kits from this episode from Camo Hive, and this is a Luxembourg army kit. It's very basic in that all he has is a boonie hat, Peak Rocks combat jacket, GSG Schutzkleidung combat pants, and the NFM combat vest. This is all in a Luxembourg camo pattern, which I don't remember what the name of it off the top of my head is. So let me know in the comments below. I'd love to get to know it. Taking a look at the reference photos, it looks like he matches it pretty perfectly. The stuff in these photos is issued, and clearly he's got all the same issued stuff here. The only thing I think you're missing aside from an AUG is a set of binoculars. But overall, I want to see more detail. I think this is a cool kit and not something that really anyone's explored. So if you can find some pocket filler, maybe get the AUG and some other details to this kit, let me know because I want to see more progress in the future. For now, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, not because it's bad, but because I want to see a lot more of it. And let's take a look at our top kit of this episode. But before we do that, let's talk about how you can get your kit in the next episode, which is different. Instead of me going through impression kits that you guys send in, episode 3, and only episode 3 for now, is going to be a universal kit. I want to see your airsoft kit, your tactical kit, your real world kit, and send it in to me by November 2nd. This time, I don't need any reference photos. All I need is kit pictures of you because people in the past have said that I'm a little too nice about this. So episode 3 is going to be all my raw opinion about your kit. Doesn't matter if it's accurate or not. If you want to send in a kit list, great, do so, but I'm just going to give you my straight up opinion. And let's take a look at what this would look like. One of my buddies on Instagram sent me in his real German Bundeswehr kit, which is pretty darn cool. No reference photos are needed because he is the reference photos. And for privacy's sake, I'm not going to tell you what his account name is. He requested that I keep that private. So D23 has sent in his kit, which he uses in the Bundeswehr's Air Force CBRN Warfare Platoon, which is the only CBRN unit in the whole German Luftwaffe. It's really cool. It says he's stationed in the Force Protection Regiment, where the AMPTs and Kampfreiter are. His kit is really cool, mainly because it's the stuff that he's actually using. The only thing I gotta say is I'm so sorry that you're running a Mobas plate carrier. I've heard so many bad things about it, that's just too bulky and obnoxious, and the Gen 5 was a lot nicer. But if you seem to like it, then cool. Looks like he's running a Leo Kohler top and the Linderhof Tactics civilian style combat pants. His belt is a Faro Concept Bison belt. And one thing that he did note when he sent me his kit list is he does have the Mobas plate carrier, but he also has a Spiritus LV119 that he typically uses instead of this Mobas if he can. I think this kit is really cool. Maybe I'm biased because it's German, but overall, I love the G36 setup. I'm gonna give this one a solid 9 out of 10. It's not my preferred setup, but these are just my opinion, so nice job. And a reminder, send your kits in to me by November 2nd. All I need is the pictures of your kit. Doesn't have to be impression, airsoft, tactical, whatever. Get them into me on my Instagram at The.Gear.Locker. And now, for my favorite kit of this episode, comes from an Instagrammer called Crye, Kalle. And this is his British 2022 CTSFO officer. If I wasn't aware that this came from someone who replicated this particular group, I would have no idea that this is a reproduction. All of this kit stuff looks authentic, and that's awesome. He wears a Crye uniform and has a lot of different accessories, some of which are from 511, Safariland, Mechanics, and Smith Optics. His helmet setup is an OpsCore XP high cut in black. It is a replica with plenty of accessories, including Peltor stuff, SNS Manta strobes, Wilcox stuff for his NVGs, and more. His plate carrier is a C2R more light Gen 2 plate carrier with a bunch of pouches and equipment from Blue Force Gear, HSGI, Blackhawk, and more C2R stuff, as well as some Ferro concepts mixed in. Taking a look at the reference photos, it looks like these 3 photos are all from like different publicity shots or in-use shots from the CTSFO. He did a fantastic job with this. His rifle setup looks almost identical to the guys all the way on the right, and his uniform, helmet, and carrier setup looks just like the guys in the middle. I think he did an absolutely stellar job on this. I gotta give it a really solid 10 out of 10. I'm not biased towards police kits, but apparently I am. Crye, Kalle, great job, dude. This is super impressive. The Milsim community so far is 2 for 2 on the Gear.Locker Roast Your Kit series. Let's see if you guys can beat it next episode by sending any kit, Airsoft, Tactical, or Real World, into the Gear.Locker on my Instagram by November 2nd. Once again, I've said this a lot. This is the Gear.Locker. Thanks for sending in your foreign kits, and we'll see you guys and your kits in the next one. I'm dying here.